Peace. What's good, everybody? It's your man on October 9th from the Art of Thinking Out Loud Live Common Sense Analytics. And our last discussion, we talked about tunnels under like Hollywood homes, and we've been pretty much putting together how this is all one big grand trafficking scheme. But today we're gonna dive a little deeper into like other aspects of the trafficking trade. Illegal human body parts. Every year, X amount of people go missing, Black women, children, foreigners, certain body parts, or I'll tell you what, sometimes people, not just do people go missing, but sometimes people are, how can I put this? Medical records are switched. People are having the wrong surgical procedures performed on them. Body parts are taken, and they're making it seem like it's an accident, like you can just accidentally remove somebody's spleen or liver. Know what I mean? But that's neither here nor there. What we're gonna concentrate on today is that we're gonna look at the aspect of it where people go missing from medical facilities, Chicago and Detroit in particular. And the video that I have for you, because you know I always got to have a video to go with it. It's by Strange Bar and Grill, True Crime. It's called Chicago Hospitals Body Part Harvesting Ring. And basically what it deals with is it's talking about how people go missing in these hospitals. I know that sounds crazy that, you go to the hospital for one thing and you wind up missing. Your family is told that, they have no information on you, or they're told that, you checked out of the hospital without telling anybody. Most times your belongings are still at the hospital. Man, listen, we're going to get into this video and then I'm going to give y'all a little commentary. Check this out, though.
In the frigid January air of suburban Chicago, federal agents descended upon two seemingly ordinary businesses, a nondescript crematorium in Schiller Park and an office building in Rosemont, housing the Biological Resource Center of Illinois. What they discovered would pull back the curtain on a largely unregulated industry operating in the shadows of American healthcare. But could this raid also hold clues to another disturbing pattern across America, the issue of men and women going missing from hospitals? Let's take a look.
Hi, I'm Dawn, and I run a company called Jotful. We make one-of-a-kind websites.
No, Don, we don't want to talk to you and your company called Jotful. But yo, let's get back to our story.
When agents executed their carefully planned search warrants at the two facilities, they uncovered an inventory that read like the manifest of a medical school anatomy lab. Thousands of body parts and tissue samples, meticulously cataloged. Heads, hands, legs, and torsos were stored in containers. According to federal documents later unsealed, these weren't merely medical specimens awaiting educational use. They were allegedly inventory in what authorities described as a body broker ring that illegally traded in human remains. Now, this federal investigation hadn't actually begun in Illinois. It started when authorities discovered scores of human remains stored on ice, not properly embalmed as required for medical specimens, in warehouses in Detroit and Phoenix. And if you remember from my last story, we talked about hospitals in Detroit and people going missing. I'll leave a link to that in the description. These discoveries created a trail that eventually led investigators to the Chicago suburbs and the BRCIL, the Biological Resource Center of Illinois. Like similar operations across the country, operated within a particular business model. The company solicited body donations from individuals who wished to contribute to medical science after their death. Such donations are vital for medical research and training. Surgeons practice new techniques on cadavers, researchers test new
Now, the reason I'm stopping that right there for a second is because this facility is one of those facilities where you donate your body. You know, when people pass, they say, "Oh, I'll donate my body to science, to medicine," and so that they can make new discoveries, breakthroughs, or whatever, whatnot. But let's see the dark side of this.
medical devices, and students learn human anatomy through direct examination. And what makes these cases troubling, according to investigators, was the alleged deception involved. Federal agents claimed that the BRCIL had assured donors and families that remains would not be sold. However, financial records recovered during the January raids painted a different picture, one of commodification with specific price points. Whole corpses selling for $5,000 and up, arms for $750, and heads for $500. Even more disturbing were the allegations regarding the condition of some of the remains. According to the unsealed documents, some body parts were infected with HIV, hepatitis, and other diseases.
Now, hold on. If some of these body parts are infected body parts with, HIV, hepatitis, and things like that, we have to wonder, why would you keep infected body parts for sale? These aren't just laying around. No, these body parts are up for sale too. Huh. The rabbit hole gets deep.
Conditions that should have disqualified them from sale or medical use. So keep that in mind for later, because we'll touch on that again. These remains were allegedly sold to hospitals, doctors, and medical training facilities, both in the United States and internationally, potentially putting healthcare workers at risk. Now, behind the BRCIL were Donald A. Green and his son, Donald A. Green II, who together owned both the body donation business and the Schiller Park crematorium. On September 21st of 2021, the U.S. District Court of the Eastern District of Michigan convicted and sentenced Donald A. Green Sr. to 24 months of incarceration, 36 months of supervised release, and a $100 special assessment. And on October 13th of 2021, the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Michigan convicted and sentenced Donald A. Green II to 30 days of incarceration, 1 year of supervised release, and a $100 special assessment fee. In my opinion, that is not enough time for these types of crimes. I think they got off easy. But that was just in Illinois, because
Yo, check this out. I just want to drop this little jewel in there real quick. I know y'all remember Jeffrey Dahmer, but what a lot of people don't realize is that Jeffrey Dahmer was not collecting these body parts just for his own consumption. No, when he was consuming these body parts, that was like it was like what was left over spare. Jeffrey Dahmer was actually harvesting body parts. If you look deeper into the whole Dahmer situation, you'll find out his father is a longtime physician, and his father was connected deep with a lot of nefarious activities and a lot of people in these very trades, these organ harvesting trades. This is why you saw Dahmer with these different containers with different body parts, livers, spleens, hearts, heads. But that's neither here nor there. I just had to drop that gem in there real quick because I thought about that. But let's get back to it.
this Illinois case was not isolated. Similar investigations have exposed questionable practices in the body donation industry nationwide, revealing a pattern of alleged abuses spanning decades. In 2014, the FBI raided the Biological Resource Center in Arizona, owned by Stephen Gore. What agents found there shocked even experienced investigators. A cooler filled with severed heads, a bucket of limbs, and according to court documents, a macabre scene reminiscent of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Torso
Hold on. I know we just read that right. Like they had a whole vat of penises. Like what? Like, man, look, everything's for sale. Everything, everything. Yeah. It gets more wild. Let's go.
with heads of different people sewn together. Gore later pleaded guilty to illegal control of an enterprise and was sentenced to probation. He got sentenced to control of different people sewn together of limbs, and according to court documents, a macabre scene reminiscent of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, torsos with heads of different people sewn together. Gore later pleaded guilty to illegal control of an enterprise and was sentenced to probation. He got sentenced to probation for basically performing experiments with people's bodies, people's dead bodies, sewing heads onto corpses. Like, what the hell? In 2018, a Reuters investigation titled The Body Trade documented how the Detroit warehouse connected to the Illinois case was tied to businessman Arthur Rathburn. Rathburn was eventually sentenced to 9 years in prison for fraud and shipping hazardous materials after he was found to have supplied body parts infected with HIV and hepatitis to medical researchers. In Colorado, similar allegations surfaced against Megan Hess and her mother Shirley Koch, who operated Sunset Mesa Funeral Home. Prosecutors alleged they sold body parts from hundreds of corpses they were supposed to cremate, often without families' permission. In some cases, they allegedly provided families with concrete dust instead of ashes, while selling the bodies. Both pleaded.
And y'all know what? Hold on. I'm gonna tell y'all something. That's the reason whenever we talk about cremation, because I had said once that I said, you know what? I think I want to be cremated. But now I'm thinking, man, they'll fuck around and give my loved ones a bucket of damn cigarette ashes, like blunt ashes, anything. They just said they were giving people concrete dust. Telling y'all, boy, this world ain't shit. This world ain't shit.
Guilty to mail fraud and were sentenced to prison in 2023. But there's another disturbing pattern across America that few have connected to the body broker industry. People who disappeared without a trace from medical facilities.
I dare you.
Okay, now, what we about to look into here, no, I'm not going to let you build me a damn Shopify store, dude. But check this out. What we're about to look into here is when you hear about people coming up missing from different hospitals and different medical facilities. I just had to set that up for you after we've seen what the funerals and what crematoriums are doing with our loved ones. Man, listen, sometimes your loved one never make it out the hospital. Check this out.
Of 2012 from a doctor 2 years.
Check this out. My bad.
Nevaeh Richard, just 2 years old, went missing on November 13th of 2012 from a doctor's appointment in Cleveland, Ohio. Nevaeh has been diagnosed with Waardenburg syndrome, a genetic condition that causes congenital hearing loss and changes in pigmentation of the skin, hair, and eyes. Could she have been targeted for her genetic condition? There's not a lot known about this case, but it's believed that the mother or a friend of the mother took the child to a doctor's appointment, but it's unclear how the two became separated. Carlton Purnell was last seen on June 18th 2024, at Northwestern Memorial Hospital in Chicago, Illinois. It's unclear as to why he was admitted to the hospital, but when nurses went to check on him after a shift change, he was nowhere to be found. His wallet and personal items were untouched and left behind. Of course, no surveillance footage could be found of Carlton actually leaving the hospital.
But y'all know what? Check this out. There is never no surveillance footage of you actually leaving the hospital. If they do have any surveillance footage of you, it's usually just the average day-to-day stuff they would have anyway. So somebody in security is editing footage. That's the reason, one of my favorite lines, they all in on it. Man, this is wild. This is wild.
Of course, no surveillance footage could be found of Carlton actually leaving the hospital. Bartolo Diaz Ortiz, aged 41, was last seen crossing the border into Arizona. 3 people were crossing together. They were apprehended and they said Bartolo was taken to the hospital. When the other 2 inquired about him later, when they were in detention, they were told that he had died. Bartolo has not been seen since. Do you think it's possible that some of these people that are crossing the border are getting snatched up and made victims of the human body part trade as well? Let me know in the comment section.
Okay. Now, let me just kind of expound on that for a quick second. What he just said, do you think that a lot of the people coming across the border are getting snatched up? Yes, because they're undocumented. Being undocumented, you're food. You are free food. They can do whatever they want with you because nobody is looking for you because they have no paper trail on you. They look at these people as like a free meal. Just pick who you want. And it's like, I'm gonna tell you something. What really made me think about that, even before I came across this video, was the fact that when they started separating families and you started seeing children separated from their parents, and then sometime, and to this day, some of those parents have never seen their children again, and vice versa. They all in on it. Trying to tell you.
George Gregory Smith was last seen when he was allegedly discharged from a Detroit, Michigan hospital on May 1st, 2006. He was never heard from again. And again, no surveillance footage of him actually leaving the hospital. Frank Brown disappeared on June 3rd, 2015, after being hospitalized for seizures at Baptist Hospital in Jacksonville, Florida. And nearly 9 years later, his case remains unsolved, with no substantial leads or clues about what happened to him. Frank had been hospitalized for several days due to seizure-related issues. When it was time for him to be released, he called his brother Ernest and their mother to say he was being released and needed a ride home. Ernest and his mother showed up to the hospital. They waited in the hospital lobby for approximately 30 minutes, but Frank never appeared. When Ernest went to Frank's hospital room to check on him, his hospital room was empty, and hospital staff informed him that Frank had already left. Surveillance footage did show Frank in the hospital, but it never actually showed him leaving. Shanice Burrell vanished from a St. Louis.
Hold up. But ain't that what I told y'all? Ain't that what I just said? I said they're going to have security footage that's going to show you being there. They'll validate you being there. They'll even validate you being under release, meaning you're sitting in a waiting area waiting to be picked up. But then surveillance footage never has you leaving the actual facility. I'm trying to tell you, man, it gets worse. It gets worse. Boy, this is wild.
But it never actually showed him leaving. Shanice Burrell vanished from a St. Louis hospital in 2011 while visiting her newborn in NICU. Lamont Jenkins went missing from University Hospital's Cleveland Medical Center in 2014. Derek Chambers vanished from the Advocate Christ Medical Center in Oak Lawn in 2012 while recovering from a minor surgery. And I can just list probably 100 cases here of people that went missing in a hospital. These cases share disturbing similarities. Many of these individuals disappeared despite security cameras throughout the facilities. Personal belongings were often left behind, and in several cases, the security footage has gaps or malfunctions at critical moments. We have to ask the uncomfortable questions here. Is it possible that some of these missing persons cases are connected to the underground body trade? Could vulnerable patients be targeted by those looking to profit in this shady industry? The geographic overlap is striking. Many disappearances occurred in the same cities where body broker operations were later raided. In Detroit, where Arthur
Now, hold on. I want y'all to think about what he just said. Many of these operations were shut down or were discovered in cities where they have known organ trafficking syndicates and different operations. Man, I told y'all this rabbit hole not only gets deep, it gets nasty. But we gonna come to the end of this video in just a few seconds. We got like a few minutes left, and then I'm gonna give a short commentary. But check this out, y'all. Let's hear about this dude right here.
Rathburn ran his business before being sentenced to 9 years in prison. In Chicago, where the Greens operated. In Phoenix, where Stephen Gore's facility was raided. The body broker industry operates in a regulatory vacuum. While the sale of organs for transplant is strictly regulated, the trade in non-transplant body parts has minimal oversight. Only a handful of states have laws specifically regulating body brokers. This patchwork approach to regulation creates opportunities for those willing to push ethical and legal boundaries. Now, the legitimate medical donation industry is vital to healthcare advancement, but the profit motive, combined with minimal oversight, creates conditions where exploitation becomes possible. When whole bodies can sell for thousands of dollars and there's little regulation to prevent abuse, we must consider whether this creates incentives for criminal behavior. It's reported that law enforcement officials won't comment on potential connections between these missing persons cases and the body broker business, but multiple agencies between these missing persons that law enforcement officials its incentives for criminal behavior. It's reported that law enforcement officials won't comment on potential connections between these missing persons cases and the body broker business, but multiple agencies have quietly reopened investigations. The Illinois case, like others before it, raised important questions about how society handles human remains and the responsibilities of those who facilitate body donations. While medical science depends on such donations, the commodification of human remains strikes many as deeply troubling. The unsealed documents from the Illinois investigation revealed just one facet of a complex industry operating at the intersection of medicine, ethics, and commerce. For regulators, lawmakers, and the medical community, such cases highlight the need for greater transparency, consistent standards, and appropriate oversight to ensure that those who donate their bodies to advance science can do so with confidence that their final wishes will be honored with dignity and respect. For the families of the missing, the possibility that their loved ones could have been exploited in this way adds a new layer of horror to their ongoing nightmare. What if these disappearances aren't random? What if there's a pattern that has been overlooked? But what do you all think? Is there a connection between those that have gone missing in hospital facilities and the body broker industry?
Yeah. And with that I'll say this, y'all. People come up missing every day. And when I say people, I'm not just talking about those who are still alive with us. Sometimes our loved ones who have already passed on that are sitting inside of funeral homes, that are sometimes our loved ones who are in distress medically inside of these hospitals. Like they said, you can go missing upon discharge, you can go missing upon admission. Man, listen. Welcome to the edge of the rabbit hole on human body part trafficking. We ain't talking about people being being sexually trafficked. No, we talking about body parts, Jeffrey Dahmer type situations. Like I told you with Dahmer. Dahmer was doing what they doing. He was collecting body parts because his father was involved in a lot of these syndicates and ring. But as I told you, this goes on to our whole thing about harvesting, energy harvesting. You know, the harvesting of people, the harvesting of of our distinct qualities, our energies, our blood, our fluids, everything that make us whom we are is valuable. That's why when I see people and they say, man, you know, some of this stuff sounds a little bit too far fetched. It's designed to sound far fetched so that you don't take it serious. And while you don't take it serious, it's going on right in your backyard. But we'll continue this conversation on the next video when we delve deeper into another subject that's adjacent to this. But y'all already know it's your man Honorable October 9 from the Art of Thinking Out Loud.live. Common Sense Analytics. Cincinnati's most controversial critical thinker, cause y'all know ain't nobody else about to go in on things like I do. I'm gonna catch y'all on the next.